Welcome back. It is Monday, and you know what that means. That is Monday motivation. And for the month of April, we are doing man, mind, body, the blueprint for well being. And so far, we have dropped a lot of gems on this platform. I brought a bunch of messengers who've just done like great topics, diced up some different information, gave you some slow feeding, some fast feeding, but in general, everything around men, because that was the spotlight for this month. And as I was thinking about all the messengers that I brought through to the space to come up with different topics, and we have touched on financial wellness, we have touched on executive presence, on men's grief, and I was thinking like we haven't touched on men's fitness. And because I'm on my little journey right now of getting my weightlifting on and getting my heart right and getting my health right, because I want to be alive to see my grandchildren, right? I was like, I need to bring someone who absolutely loves fitness, and it was their jam and still is their jam. So, of course, I reached out to my man, Coach Mike James, who's in the building. Coach, welcome back to the space. And Coach, not only being an amazing trainer, transformative coach, public speaker, and all those good things, bring him to the space to talk a little bit about what works for us, right? What can we do around fitness? What can men do to either adjust, acclimate, add, whatever way you want to take it, right? But find what works for them. Coach, what you got for me?
Yeah, man, thank you. So, first of all, thank you for having me back, bro. It's always a pleasure, man. I just love chopping it up with good people. So just a little background to add on to what Adam already had said. I my degree before I became a life coach, my passion has been health and fitness. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Fitness Leadership from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB, go Blazers. And I went on to do personal training. I started when I was in college, did personal training for 14 years as my primary career until I went into life coaching and started my practice. So health and fitness is still one of those things that I'm passionate about. And it's always my gut check, right? So you said something, Adam, that I we were talking about. And, in terms of a lot of the audience, right? We talk about grown men, right? And one of the things, I think the first thing you said, what can we do? We have to be real. We got to be real with ourselves and understand that we ain't high school athletes no more. Brothers,
Mm-mm.
fellas, sisters, we ain't high school athletes no more. I so funny story, man. When I was a personal trainer still full time, I would have my 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old clients, right? And they'd be so bummed out that, oh man, I used to do this easy when I was and I used to and I said, tell me how long ago that was? Like, when were you running up and down the court? Oh, Mike, it's been over 40 years. Do you think you're the same person? Do you think you can do the same stuff? No. So many times we see that best version of ourselves from the past and realizing that is a completely different person. We are now trying to be our sons and daughters and next generation. We ain't there. So we got to be real. And you said something that we talked about before. Shout out to my bro, UAB Blazer as well. Dr. Eric Agee, he's the athletic director at Lawson State. So shout out to Eric Agee, man. I told you about how we were talking about fitness, and I was putting on clothes this morning, and I just so happened to have his shirt, man. And it's strategy fitness. And here's the thing: find what works. So again, shout out to my boy Dr. Eric Agee. You have to find what works. So for everyone who you're in that rut, you're in that place where you say, "Man, I got to do this." As we say, man, people leaving every day. People leaving this
Mm-hmm.
world every day, man.
Yeah.
The joke, sometimes in the South, look, God calling people home that ain't been called home before. Ages younger and younger. So we have to be real about it and take care of ourselves. So part of this, the with my boys' company, Strategy Fitness, is finding what works because you got to do something that's going to make you have that sense of urgency that I can do this.
Mm.
You can't go all or none. Day one tomorrow. It's Monday, Tuesday morning. I'm gonna go do it and I'm gonna hit it. I'm just gonna be the best ever. And now you bummed out, you burned out, and you don't go back. So
Mm.
start slow, uh, start small, chunk down, and build up. So if anything, this is what I say. be active. Be active. There's a saying in the fitness world, in the health and fitness world, motion is lotion. Motion is
Mm.
lotion. When you move, you are lubricating your body, your muscles, your joints, your bones.
Mm.
The worst thing you can do is be inactive.
Yeah.
So move, find activity. If nothing else, just go for a walk every day. Then start hitting some weights because resistance training, that's what's going to build you up. Here's an interesting thing, bro. We say my aunt, my me mom, my grandma, grandpa fell and broke their hip. No, 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 no. Here's what
Mm.
happens. Most older people, they break their hip and fall.
Mm.
We have the order wrong because they haven't done any kind of weight bearing resistance training. So as they get old, they get
Mm.
frail, they get
That
brittle, their
part.
bones literally become brittle. And so
Mm.
auntie, grandpa, uncles walking down the steps, their hip fractures and then they fall. So we'll say,
Mm.
so and so they slipped off a curve and they fell and broke their hip. No, they broke their hip and fell. So do something because 40 is closer to 70 than
Yeah.
it is to birth. 50 is closer to 80 than it is to the high school version of yourself. So, bro,
Uh-huh.
really, that's the start of it, and we can build. You have to, again, find what works and start somewhere. You can
Mm.
just sit and do nothing, and you're actually doing something that you don't know. You're killing yourself slowly, right? So
Yeah.
you gotta get started somewhere, man, and find not
Mm.
only what works, but I always say this, man. My intention word for life is fun. Find something that's gonna be fun for you that you like. You know what I'm saying? I like to switch it up every now and then and make it fun. I had to switch my mindset to say the stat master. I started calling it my girlfriend. I'm going to the gym to see my girlfriend because we're gonna argue, but it's fun because I know what it's doing for me when I get off. I shared with you before we started recording. I said, man, bro, if you got 5 minutes out of me when I first started, you couldn't tell me nothing. Now I'm hitting
Yeah.
30 minutes, and going all
Mm.
the way up to level 10, 11, 12, 30 minutes. I never would have imagined that. So that's
Mm.
that's where I would land right there, bro. As you say, I love it so elegantly. I'm gonna land my plane there, starting off of just do something, find what works, and move.
You dropped a lot of gems, and I was sifting through some of them, but one just really resonated with me, Coach, and that is like that age, right? There's a certain age you get to as men, and things change in you. And I do believe in just in my own reflection that change, as much as I can point at 21 or those pinnacle ages. I want to say after 30 onward, my body changed. Different things changed in me. My patterns changed. My craving changed. Maybe in high school, I lift more weights, and it was something I did consistently. Obviously, in high school, in those younger days, it was all about appearance to me in that sense, right? So I was maintaining that, but then I got married. I found my soulmate, and I'm comfortable now, and they like me a little cuddly. They don't mind that, right? So I
Right.
guess in terms of like the men, and this can fall in any of those age groups, and just in general with our men, the motivation, there's find what works for us. And I agree with that. Like your workout regimen or whatever it may be, if it starts as a walk and that's all you do, or you buy you a treadmill for Amazon and you stare at it for 2 weeks, but then eventually that third week you get your ass on it and you start walking on it, whichever way you go.
Mm-hmm.
As men, right, in your space of your experience, your knowledge, and I'm sure clients that you coached on this, how do we stay motivated? How do we get motivated, right? Like, how do we maintain our motivation to maintain our health, right? Because as much as those cheeseburgers and that deep dish pizza is delicious, right, I also
Mm-hmm.
worry about how much it clings to my heart and the fatties
Mm.
around my belly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, gut check, news at 5, breaking news. We can't. We can't.
Mm.
You said how can we stay motivated, bro? Just this is the truth, and I learned it the hard way for years. Like, oh no, that's not true. We're not gonna always be motivated. Sometimes you just not gonna feel it. Sometimes you just don't want to, and it sucks. And I even say this, consistency. We talked about this on a previous video. I say that consistency, it ain't always going to consistentize. It ain't going to show up every day. So what I would offer to anyone, especially men as we're aging, you have life and you want to be a provider and you want to do these things, right? And the most important thing is you have to find discipline. You got to find discipline to say, I'm not getting any younger. You said something so important. As much as I like some of these things, I got to start thinking about how it's clinging to my heart, my stomach. One of the things anybody in the health and fitness world or the medical world as well, one of the worst things is that visceral fat. That's underlying, right? Even sometimes you see ex bodybuilders, they still got their 6-pack, 4-pack on the top, but it's a gut, that visceral fat under that. That's the dangerous stuff because it's literally doing this. It's suffocating our organ, right? And so when I say that gut check, it's one of those things where you realize, man, listen, I have people, leaving every day that I know, a friend I grew up with, a person that I
Mm-hmm.
heard. We just had two in the Birmingham area, young people, who are between the age of 38 and 42. One went to UAB, was a dancer, cheerleader, all this stuff, active. You never saw this young lady without a smile. Gone. Another
Mm.
one was kind of influencer, kind of in the Birmingham area, 38 years old, gone. And so it becomes that reality of like motivation ain't gonna always be there. But what needs to happen is that discipline to say, you know what, even if I go today and I do 10 minutes, even if I just walk around my neighborhood today, discipline says I'm going to do it even when I don't feel like it. Because motivation ain't showing up, and I ain't motivated today, but I'm gonna get it in because I'm disciplined, right? I'm gonna get it in today because I don't feel consistent, but my discipline says I have to do this for me. Because the better I
Mm.
am for me, the more I can show up for everybody else.
Mm. Yeah, no, I love that you replace the word motivated with discipline, right? Because your motivation can dictate your motivation to something that has nothing to do with weightlifting, right? Sometimes motivation has a mind of its own, and what intrigues almost the mentality of a squirrel and a nut running for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, that discipline, right? Discipline is that's it. It's the core of like it's going to get you up. It's going to make sure that you do it because it's all part of being disciplined, right?
Yeah.
And I love that, coach. I love that thought. In terms of like, we're getting towards the end of our segment here. There's the discipline, and yeah, I think there's part motivation, but yeah, that can come in
Yeah.
waves and ebbs and flows depending on it, and having that discipline steady. And then I think there's something, and I know you shared a little bit about this, about like some of our folks that we grew up with, even younger folks we're seeing. I just recently lost a mentee to health, um, that are just like gone,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I wonder with those folks, and not just those folks, but just in general, and in our tangible resources space, our 1-2 tangible resources coach. What is that for our men to kind of, beyond the discipline, whether it's incorporating discipline, whether it's, finding what works for them. You gave a bunch of different gems in this segment, but I guess leaving our men towards the end of this month and kind of giving them the gems about fitness. I guess what are your last 1-2 tangible thoughts here?
Yeah. Number one, this came up even as you were talking, it came up instantly for me. Number one, lay aside your pride. Lay
Mm,
aside your pride. Because sometimes, bro, pride keeps us out of getting back in the gym. Pride keeps us out of reaching out, right, for someone to help. Pride keeps us away from looking up some workouts and things we can do, right? Switching up how we're eating. Pride before the fall is what they say, right? So lay aside your pride. That's the first thing. Be open with where you are. Be real. Be open where you are. And then number two, I would say, is find a source. Now, notice what I said. Find a source of accountability. And why do I
mm,
say source of accountability? Because most people will say, especially in the field that I'm in, coaches or motivational speakers and stuff, they'll say find an accountability partner, someone to hold you, accountable. I say find a source of accountability. Because let me tell you what sometimes can be more powerful than one accountability partner. When you post online, when you post that first day back gym photo, and you tell people I gotta stay this because my numbers was a little higher. This happened or that happened. I'm starting over. Guess what's gonna happen? Now you ain't gonna have one accountability partner. You're gonna have multiple people. Hey, I ain't seen you post in a while. Hey, you been to the gym lately? And it's so funny. One of my frat brothers was telling me about this the other day. Big lineman for UAB. Like, man, Mike, you was right. I posted that picture, man. I told him, I say, they're gonna be on you now. Like,
Mhm.
hey, have you been back? How's it going? So again, a source of accountability, whether that be a person, a friend, someone else in that, someone you look up to, someone that's doing it already, or just your audience, internet,
Mhm.
social media. Number one, lay aside your pride, let that shit go because it ain't gonna help you. And number two, find a source of accountability. Find a source of accountability. And then again, discipline. Just stay at it. Stay at it. It ain't gonna be fun all the time. It ain't gonna be cool. It ain't gonna be pretty. Sometimes you gonna get home and lay out on the floor and be like, man, I don't know if I gotta go back. I'm gonna go back tomorrow. Right? But find your why pretty much, right? Find what
For
works.
sure. No, I love that. And you mentioned about the accountability partner, and sometimes more having the source of accountability as opposed to the partner, because as much as they're the partner, they're not with you every part of the day, right? They ain't waking up with you when you decide to eat that breakfast burrito instead of that great shake that can get you started with that workout, right? Whatever it may be, that accountability partner serves a purpose. But I feel like what you're saying here in that space of the source to be that accountability partner, because that source can be like, sometimes I think that source for me, and I speak for myself, can be music,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Definitely. Look, bro, it could be, that's why I say source. It could be your watch, closing your rings out, getting your steps. Man, I feel
Yeah.
bad nowadays when I don't
Yep.
get my steps, my target steps. I'm like, okay,
Yep.
let me go walk around the block a few times, right? I'm too
Yep.
close now, go to sleep. So that's why I say source, because there could be multiple avenues. Yes, you could
Mm.
still get an accountability partner, but find multiple sources. Because like you say, your accountability partner, unless it's your partner, and even then, I might not be waking up together all the time. You're not going to
Yep.
always be together. Sometimes it's going to be, honey, you go. I'm good
Yeah.
today. And then what's going to happen? Are you going to stay because they're skipping? So
Yeah.
finding sources of accountability, that's where it's at.
Nah, I love that, coach. And of course, as always, coach is dropping the gems. He's always delivering the tangible thoughts and resources, and we're going to bring you back for your home space on the platform, Friday Transformation. And we have another segment that's going to come up with that one, around gut checking ourselves here. But once again, thank you, coach, for coming through. This is Monday Motivation, to motivate yourself. And of course, this is the month of men, mind, body, the blueprint of well-being. Taking these gems, y'all, all my men that I'm reaching out to, delivering these different segments. This is for you, because in May it's going to switch up. It's going to change up as we always do. But of course, take care of the star player. That's who you are. And my last words are, who's helping you heal, y'all? Peace.